Hey guys, so we today are going to read part 3 of Love That Dog by Sharon Creech. And last time we had heard Jack say on November 22nd, pretend I still have that pet. Can't I make up a pet? A different one? Like a tiger or a hamster? A goldfish? Turtle? Snail? Worm? Flea? November 29th. I like those small poems we read today. When they're small like that, you can read a whole bunch in a short time, and then in your head, all the pictures of all the small things. And then in your head are all the pictures of all the small things from all the small poems. I liked how the kitten leaped in the cat poem and how you could see the long head of the horse in the horse poem. So you can see that here they're using the word small in super tiny font when he says that word. And he's really talking again about that imagery that you can get in your head, even when these poems are small. And especially, I like the dog in the dog poem because that's just how my yellow dog used to lie down with his tongue all limp and his chin between his paws, and how he'd sometimes chomp at a fly and then sleep in his loose skin, just like that poet Miss Valerie Worth says in her small dog poem. So we can read Miss Valerie Worth's small dog poem, and it's called Dog. And I like how the title is not capitalized. It's not the name of the dog. It might not even be one special dog. With that purposeful choice, which you sometimes see, especially in poetry, not to capitalize, where sometimes things might be capitalized, it is maybe making it more generalized that whatever she says in this small poem about dogs or about dog could be about any dog at all. So let's see if we agree. Dog by Valerie Worth. Under a maple tree, the dog lies down, lolls his limp tongue, yawns, rests his long chin carefully between front paws, looks up, alert, chomps with heavy jaws at a slow fly, blinks, rolls on his side, sighs, closes his eyes, sleeps all afternoon in his loose skin. That definitely sounds like it could apply to a lot of dogs that I know. So maybe what we could start to think about is some small poems that we could write. Maybe pick a topic like dog or another animal that you know, or a sport that you know, or a place that we all know, and see if we could write a poem like that that just makes us imagine being there. December 4th. Why do you want to type up what I wrote about reading the small poems? It's not a poem, is it? I guess you can put it on the board if you want to, but don't put my name on it in case other people think it's not a poem. That might be something else I'd like us to think about, is now that we're in section 3 of Love That Dog, what are some ways that you might describe Jack? So this last part here where he's talking about putting or not putting his name on his poems, what other people are going to think about his poem, even sometimes the way he responds to Miss Stretchberry. I'm curious to know, what are some things that you feel like you have inferred about Jack? What are some ways you might describe him? So that's going to be one of our questions for the response this time. December 13th. I guess it does look like a poem when you see it typed up like that. But I think maybe it would look better if there was more space between the lines, like how I wrote it the first time. And I like the picture of the yellow dog you put beside it, but that's not how my yellow dog looked. January 10th. I really, really, really did not get the pasture poem you read today. I mean, somebody's going out to the pasture to clean the spring and to get the little tottery calf while he's out there. And he isn't going to be gone long, but he wants you, who is you, to come too. I mean, really. And you said that Mr. Robert Frost, who wrote about the pasture, was also the one who wrote about those snowy woods and the miles to go before he sleeps? Well, I think Mr. Robert Frost has a little too much time on his hands. So I like how Jack was using some repetition here. In the first line, the really, really, really. Remember that when an author repeats something purposefully, that's called repetition. He's using some emphasis here with capital letters in a couple of places, purposefully. And he's using a little bit of sass over here, isn't he, when he's making these short lines to really prove his point about Mr. Robert Frost. Now, let's read that second poem by Mr. Robert Frost. And it's called The Pasture by Robert Frost. This poem has 2 stanzas, 4 lines each. Longer lines. I want you to see if you can hear the rhyme scheme here. The Pasture by Robert Frost. I'm going out to clean the pasture spring. I'll only stop to rake the leaves away, and wait to watch the water clear, I may. I shan't be gone long. You come too. I'm going out to fetch the little calf that's standing by the mother. It's so young, it totters when she licks it with her tongue. I shan't be gone long. You come too. It's kind of like the feeling that poem gives me. I feel like it makes me feel like I'm right there seeing what it would look like in the pasture that day with the spring, with the leaves inside of it, and then the water getting clear. And I like the idea of that little calf tottering there near its mother. It makes me feel like I'm remembering back to the visit that I just took recently to Damien's family farm, where they had that one little calf, Orion, and now I know they had their second calf as well. So I like that. I feel like it's a place I've been before. But I am wondering, who is you, and why was Robert Frost inviting them to come along on that short little visit to the field? So that might be a question that we want to answer too. Who do you think he's talking to, and why is he telling them to come too? January 17th. Remember the wheelbarrow poem you read the first week of school? Maybe the wheelbarrow poet was just making a picture with words, and someone else, like maybe his teacher, typed it up, and then people thought it was a poem because it looked like one typed up like that. And maybe that's the same thing that happened with Mr. Robert Frost. Maybe he was just making pictures with words about the snowy woods and the pasture, and his teacher typed them up and they looked like poems, so people thought they were poems. Like how you did with the blue car things and reading the small poems thing on the board typed up. They look like poems, and the other kids are looking at them and they think they really are poems, and they are all saying, who wrote that? So maybe that's kind of like what we're doing with our collaborative poem and our response, how I'm going to type it up, just our feelings. And if we cut up our words into short lines, instead of putting it together like a paragraph, it looks like a poem. And we are just drawing these pictures with words. So I love that idea, that a lot of times when you are reading a poem, you are drawing pictures with words in your head, and we can do the same when we're writing poems as well. So going back to that idea that maybe in the next day or two, we're going to try to write our own poem in the format of the So Much Depends Upon, I want you to think, if you're picking this important topic that so much depends upon, what are some really important parts of that that you think you would want to describe, making a picture with words? And in that case, with very few words, as we know. I'm deciding if I'm going to go any further. I think I'm going to stop right there for now, and I'm going to have you respond to this section, and then tomorrow I'll give you a little bit more. Okay, I hope you're enjoying this so far. Bye.